Well, while things remain hopeful, the future for all of our characters is still very uncertain as to what outcome they will have in high school. Hey guys, Cameron for Girl Meets World, Season 3, Episode 2, Girl Meets High School, Part 2, and obviously I was so looking forward to this episode. I mean, Part 1 just really showed me what the show was capable of. It was a really emotional episode. It was kind of hard to watch at times just because of how sad it was getting, and I was really looking forward to seeing what this episode would do, because of course this was a Part 1, Part 2 episode, which means I knew things would get resolved, but as we know, Girl Meets Texas Part 3, not everything was resolved. Things kind of remain the same, and that's something that I was hoping this episode would do, and it kind of did do that. I mean, I think the thing here is that there's a lot more hope after this episode ends, but like I said in my intro, things are still very uncertain as to what's going to happen, but there were a lot of really amazing scenes in this episode. Things were a bit more lighthearted, but there were some emotional stuff that I really did enjoy, and it was smart. It wasn't like one of those episodes where it just got dumb, because it really wasn't that at all. I thought it was a very well done episode. I really did enjoy it, and very realistic as well. But let's just get into this episode because I'm loving this season so far. Oddly enough, I think I reviewed Part 1 around the same time, which was right before Outlander, and that's what I'm doing with this, but let's just get into this episode. We see in the beginning, Riley and Maya are in the hole. They're the only ones, of course, that have stayed in the hole. Maya's stuck with Riley. Maya asks how she feels today. She says she didn't cry all night because she stopped when she passed out from crying, and Maya says she seems better now. Riley says she's not, but the seniors want them to stand there, watch what goes on, and learn from it, that they have their reason, and Maya says the reason is to make fools out of them, and now they're fools without friends. As we know, Maya doesn't really like the seniors very much. Even though they gave them a valid reason, she still doesn't really trust them, obviously, because one, they're bigger than them, they're just stronger than them. She does not really like them, and basically, Riley says that they made their choice, they have started their high school careers without them, and she wishes them well. And Maya says that it might be best that they don't think about them today, and Riley agrees, but immediately starts to cry in a very funny scene where she's talking about what she hopes all four of their former friends remember. And I love that what she said about all of them. I thought was really funny. And without them there, Maya goes to get her a grape nutrition bar. I love it. She's like, this is probably going to take a while. You want a grape nutrition bar? I thought that was really funny. And it does show that the show can be a lot of fun, but it doesn't all have to be sad, which I did like. I like that there was some humor here, especially after a very dark episode. I feel like that humor was warranted, and definitely we deserved it. So when Riley gets to Lucas, though, she says that she hopes he has a horrible day, and I loved her voice when she was like, I hope he has a horrible day. And we've seen that side of Riley come out before, but it very rarely comes out, and that's why it's very funny. Maya says she'd rather be a fool with her than to be anything with her, so what can they learn from that? And they then observe a couple making out. Maya says that they are way more advanced in high school, and Riley says that they're just middle school handholders. And while that line is funny, I mean, they're not wrong. I mean, middle school hallways are much different than what you see in high school hallways. Middle school hallways, you'll see people holding hands, you might see a little kiss here and there. High school hallways, I always see couples making out. It's kind of disgusting that they just make out in the middle of the hallway, whatever, but that's exactly what happens, and basically, that's normal, pretty much. That's just how it goes. And, for when you're a freshman, you find that really weird because you're not used to seeing that. And Maya asks what if the seniors sent them down there because they think they're ready for high school, but they're really not. And Riley says then she'd be right, and she hopes that she is. And I thought it was a very well done first scene, really to show how they're starting to figure out things without their friends, and that continues in these next two very well done scenes that both were funny, like this first scene was, but also provided a really good message that I think this episode very well told. So as we know, Lucas, Zay, Smackle, and Farkle, they all parted ways. They've all gone out on their own, and we basically get to see right away really what they're going to do, because Lucas tells Zay that Riley's wrong about this, and they have just as much right to walk the halls or anywhere they want, and no one is stronger than them, and they have all this confidence. And it very much feels like the beginning of the first episode, where they all have this confidence going into high school, they'd be perfectly fine, but they then go to try out for the football team, acting very confident, and honestly kind of arrogant, and really, I think really selfish as well. I mean, if anyone were to have that kind of confidence, it just comes across annoying. But Lucas says they go to high school, they belong there, they want to be on the football team, there's nothing they can do about it, and the coach literally tells the team to beat them up. And I think he did that basically to knock some sense into them, because they're not going to get into the team if they act like complete dicks, and that's exactly what they do. And they savagely attack Zay and Lucas while Thor remains standing, which I thought was interesting that Thor did not engage. I think it's because Thor knows that he wants them to learn something from him. He's not going to hurt them to get them to learn something. He's going to let the rest rest of the team hurt them to get them to learn something. That's something I really love. The way they characterized Thor, Nikki, and Francesca, they didn't just feel like three random seniors. You totally understand what the purpose of their characters really are. So then we see back in the hole, Maya tells Riley she needs to stop thinking about their former friends. They're gone, and Riley says everything's changing. She's lost her friends, and now Maya's a mobster, which we add to Maya's voices that she does. You know, she did that Southern girl voice last year, and now she's doing this mobster voice. Sabrina Carpenter is just so immensely talented, and honestly, I'd love to see her maybe do some, impersonations, like, after Girl Meets World, because I think she'd be really good with that. But Maya asks if she really can stop thinking about them, and Riley says she's thinking about everyone except for them. And we then see Farkle and Smackle. They go to find the science geniuses. I love the way they try to be cool, especially with Smackle's I need me some stimuli. That was hilarious. I love the way that was done. Smackle is already adding so much this season, and it makes me wish that she was a part of every episode ever, from before, because she really is adding so much here. They see a guy and a girl who says that they are members of the Abigail Adams Society of International Advancement, and they ask her they may be of service, and Farkle says that they can include them in the brain trust, and Smackle says it can do more than that, bow down to their superior intellect, and skip over what it takes to join because they're going to run it. And again, they have all this confidence. Farkle talks about how much of a genius he was in middle school, and asks what they have accomplished, and it turns out that not only did the boy clone himself, which is crazy, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but I mean, we're basically supposed to think that they are way more advanced than them, and the girl genius is his robot, which actually is plausible. There are robots around nowadays, and it freaks out both of them, obviously. I love Smackle's reaction, though, where she thought that she was the one that could be more strong, and then when she realized the girl was a robot, she just passed out. I thought that was hilarious. It was funny, but again, provided this great message of all four of them. You know, if you go into high school with all this confidence, you will most likely come out to it a lot less confident, but a lot more impacted, and you'll really know what's happening for you going forward, which I really love. So Augie tells Ava that he's sorry her mom and dad aren't together anymore, and he wishes that there was something he could do. And again, Ava's really depressed in this episode. We see that she's his best friend, that he's her best friend, and that's enough for her right now. He says he wants her to be happy again, and you can really see there's this genuine friendship being created between Augie and Ava. Before it was more Ava controlling Augie. I don't really know what it was really going into it because it was really crazy. But now it seems like they're actually genuinely friends, and it's kind of making Ava more mature. You can definitely tell. I mean, Ava's having to grow up, very quickly, and you can definitely see that here. And Topanga said it's okay if that takes some time, though, and maybe going to high school today will help her take her mind off it. And I actually forgot, Topanga is one of the perfect person to talk to, because we know what she's gone through, having her parents divorced and everything, what's happened there. We remember in season 6, Corey and Topanga, they called off their wedding because she found out her parents were getting divorced. And if you guys remember in season 6, that was a finale. They called off their wedding because of it. They were going to get married and they had to call off their wedding. And then she had to go through all of season 7, knowing that her parents were divorced. And it took her a while, if you remember, to get her life back on track. And that's something I think they showed really well here, is that it is taking a while for Ava. But Ava obviously is a little girl, and it's taking her a little bit less of time because children don't seem as affected, but it does show that while children might not seem as affected, they are just as affected and just as smart as adults really are, and I really did enjoy that. So Ava says she doesn't think there should be school today, and she wishes that they could just stay home and eat cheese, and Augie says then that's what they're going to do, and Topanga immediately stops them because she's not just going to let them stall and not go to school. I mean, that's taking the easy way out, and you don't go through life taking the easy way out. She says life is real. Sometimes they just need to take a real life approach, and when something bad happens, life just wants you to keep going, and that's true. I mean, when something bad happens, you need to move on from it. You can't have you might fight and you might cry about it, but you need to move on. You have to keep going on with your life. And Augie says when something bad happens, something good should happen after, and Ava says that this is real. Augie says she knows that they're not allowed to have dogs in the building. Topanga asks if he hasn't told her, and tells Ava that this will make it more special than ever. And Augie then calls out Scruffles, who is his imaginary dog, and tells Ava he's wagging his tail and is happy to see her, and it seems to cheer Ava up, we see. And Ava asks if they have to go to school. Topanga says that they should bring Scruffles with them. Ava thanks them, and they all head to school. Really nice scene. Really like the way that was done. And then we get this great scene where we see basically everyone is back at Topanga's except for Riley and Maya. And basically this is their chance to really understand what they're going through. We see Farkle tells Smackle he used to be the smartest kid in school. Smackle asks how they can run the world if there are people in this world who are smarter than them. And he asks what they should do. And she says they need to take refuge out of people who are their intellectual inferior to them. And Lucas and Zay arrive for the perfect example of that. And they are their physical inferiors. So they're both kind kind of, already vulnerable, even in their own group, which I thought was interesting. And they sit down. Farkle says he doesn't even feel like himself anymore. Lucas says the first few days of high school could not have gone worse for them. And Smackle asks if he feels bad about finding out that there are people bigger than him. Lucas says that he expected it, and Zay asks if he feels bad because he knows it's not going to be any easier as they thought, and Lucas says he's fine with the challenge. Zay says it's about them. Farkle asks if there's an us anymore, because really that's a good question. I mean, is there really an us? Is there a future where the six of them are together? And Lucas says that that's what it is, and Zay says that they should all go back to Riley and Maya and tell them how they feel, and Lucas says that they can't do that because he feels bad. I mean, we know how Lucas acted. We know he had that huge fight with Riley, and he doesn't really know if he can come back from that. And basically, Smackle says that they should just go where they left them and start all over, and Farkle says he gets what Lucas is talking about. They left them. Zay says they just want to see what high school was like, and Smackle says they'll be okay. Zay says she has to understand Riley, and Farkle says that she had so much faith in people, but she has even more faith in them, and Lucas says he not only can't protect them there, but he abandoned them, and it's not that they can't go back to them, it's that they don't deserve to. They left them when they believed in something, and how did they come back from that? They really don't know how to do that and face them again. That's something I really did enjoy. Thought that was really well done. And then we see in history class, we see Marley once again. What I like though is that she's not really annoying. I mean, yeah, she is bringing up the fact that Corey is not he runs things like a regular classroom. He really does not. But it really does show the impact that Corey has on all of his students. And basically, she wonders why Corey just has the word massacre up on the board and you can't just give them names and dates. And Corey says that her name and what she learns today, that's a name and date he cares about, all of them right now, and talks about how the Patriots founded their land and fought for it, and he asks why they remember the Alamo. And of course, he started this lesson in episode 1, but here really shows what he's really trying to get out of it, because obviously there's a reason why he's teaching this to them. He's not just teaching about the Alamo to teach them about the Alamo. He always tries to relate it to what his daughter is going through and what her friends are going through as well, and he knows all of them are going through. So Farkle and Smackle then tell them facts about it. Corey says the Patriots desperately wanted reinforcements, but said reinforcements unfortunately never came. And Riley says that they stayed in their fortress and gave everyone a smile and eventually walked upstairs. But of course, we know that's not what happened. Riley thinks that's what would happen, but that's not what happened. They were actually massacred. And Riley asked if they walked upstairs after, and Corey said, and I thought that was a pretty funny line that Riley said that. And Corey says the battle gave birth to the slogan, "Remember the Alamo," because the Patriots gave their life for a greater good. That battle had only just begun, and some year later the land became theirs, which was named Texas, and Corey says that is why they remember the Alamo, and all the battles they fight to make the new place their home. They can stay massacred, or they can realize the battle has just begun. And Maya says that they were kings. Corey says that kingdoms fall. Everyone who believes they're going to rule the world falls, and everyone who sees themselves as strong eventually comes across someone who's stronger, and every patriot fighting for a cause, they're only as strong as a cause fighting for it. And he's not wrong. I mean, Marley says she knows the next thing he says is going to be really important, and Corey asks what the cause they're fighting for is, and you can tell slowly but surely he is getting through to Marley, which I did like seeing. She's not just annoying, she actually does have genuine reasons for why she's bringing up the things that she is, and that's something I really did enjoy. But Corey's really not wrong. I mean, they need to stick together. Basically, everyone, they're fighting for a cause, and they're going to learn something out of it. Just like Riley wanted them to. They are going to learn something from it, and that really does show them that. But then we get what is probably my favorite scene in this episode, in this next scene, because it shows a lot more of what the seniors really are trying to do than what we actually thought they were trying to do. One of the reasons I love Girl Meets World so much is that they take characters that could usually be very cookie cutter and just very standard and make them a lot more than that. That's something this next scene I think does so well. I love so much about this next scene. There's so many good things going on here, not just because of the fact that they've taken these 3 seniors who seem like they're just going to be bullies, they've made them a lot more than that. And this scene shows that there's a lot more going on with them than we ever thought. We see Riley and Maya, they're sitting at the bay window. Riley says they're still not talking to them, and Maya says they won't even look at them. Riley says she doesn't blame them. It's her fault. They didn't go after them, and they left, and they stayed behind. And I love how they all feel it's their fault, because in many ways they're not wrong. They're bringing up things that really are a big deal. I heard a lot of people say, actually, no, I heard one person say they don't understand why they're fighting. I think it's really because they all are really divided with how they feel about high school. Some of them feel like they need to move forward, some of them feel like they don't, and it is a genuine conflict that's really affected them. And maybe that's not necessarily what happens, but for them, that's how it's been. And basically, they stay behind. They have to keep more eyes on her for when she goes too full on Riley. And Corey then tells them some of their friends are there, but it's not any of their actual friends. It's actually the seniors. And basically, this is their chance to finally understand what the seniors are going through, why they put them in this situation, what the whole point of this really was. Francesca compliments her room, though. We see Riley ask why they are there, and Nikki asks if they sit at that window, and Riley says they do all the time. Thor asks why, and Riley says their safe place. Thor asks why they need one, and Maya says because there's a whole world out there they don't understand, and Riley asks why they threw him into a hole just them, and why it was just them. And Nikki finally admits what's going on. Basically, when they were in middle school, they were 6 best friends, just like the 3 of them. They thought they would be kings in high school and figured out everything real fast. They were smarter, they took some time to figure out the whole surroundings, and Riley asked if that was them, and Nikki says that they were the ones who broke off from their friends, and Riley asks why, and Thor says that no one ever means to lose friends, but high school is a lot of things calling your attention. And that really is true. I mean, one of the biggest reasons a friendship can change is just that interest change. You might not have the same interest as your friend, and because of that, you kind of just drift apart. And there are many examples I can think of that, too many to name right now, but that happens really all the time. I've seen so many times where you see 2 people who seem like are the best of friends, and they'll never be separated, and they'll be inseparable basically, and then they split up. Now, one of the big reasons for that for me is because my high school, there's 2 like high schools for where everyone lives. You can go to one high school or the other, so that's a big reason why. But then some people do stay friends, and I think this is a perfect example that we see. Francesca says they got caught up, their friendship came apart. Riley says she's heard that. Maya asks if they don't see their friends anymore. Thor says they still do, it's just not as it once was. You know, they don't have that closeness that they once did, and they're not as, you know, they're not really friends like they once were. You know, they're more acquaintances. And Riley says the 3 of them are still together. Francesca says that the 3 of them are complicated, and basically, I liked that we saw that there, that the 3 of them are complicated, and they realize that they're in the same exact situation as Riley, Maya, and Lucas. Now, some people might see this as stupid and obvious, but I think it really does make sense. I mean, basically, they're going through the same exact thing, and basically, Nikki says to not lose their friends, Riley says that they're angry at them, Thor says that they're not at all, they're humiliated, and Maya asks why. Thor says it's because it's high school and everyone gets massacred, and Riley asks if that's why they put them into a safe spot. Francesca says it's not the safe place, it's a hole, and Nikki says they wanted them all to be together, and that's what the safe place is, and Riley asks how they solve the love triangle, and then they realize that they just haven't, which is actually really funny, because we know Riley, Maya, and Lucas, they're not really talking about it, but they haven't really solved it either. They don't have a clear answer. You know, Lucas hasn't picked either of them. They've stayed very neutral, and neither of them have really picked, an answer, really, which I think is very interesting. But I think a big part of this episode is really what happens in a Corey scene, which I'll get into. But basically, I think the main message is that history does repeat itself, and I'll get into that a little later, but I love so much about this scene. It made Thor, Nikki, and Francesca much better characters than ever. It made me realize really what the point of them was, and if anyone was complaining with them, I'm sure this scene really changed the way we thought about these 3 characters as a whole, and what their, what the point of them being on the show was. So Augie and Ava then continue to play with Scruffles, and Topanga explains to Corey what's going on, and because obviously, Augie's had Scruffles, we realized, for a while, and now he's basically helping Ava with it. Ava tells him to sit, and I love the way the scene was done, because it really does show, like I said, the maturity in Ava, but that she's not really changing either. She admits that Scruffles just isn't really doing it for her anymore. Scruffles is, I'd say, honestly, too childish. I feel like Ava thinks it's kind of too childish. He asks if he's let her down, and she says he's done so well, and thanks him for trying so hard. He asks what's happening, and Topanga says that Ava may finally be ready for the real-life approach now she knows that Scruffles is made up and their friendship is real. And Corey says even when they don't understand what life is, doing the most important thing friends can be there is for each other. And Ava tells him to stay, and he says he will. And you just see these 2 are having a genuine friendship. These 2 are finally actually friends. This isn't just Ava controlling Augie anymore and pretending to be married. It's no longer that. It's not her saying Ava Morgenstern. And again, who would have thought that the Ava that we were introduced to, that I thought was honestly kind of annoying when we first introduced her, is a much more interesting, complex, emotional character, and probably one of the most mature of the show right now. I mean, honestly, she made a very mature decision in what she did, not relying on imaginary beings to please her. Now she is going to deal with this situation. She's not just going to pretend that it isn't going on. She knows what's going on, and she's going to do something about it, and that's something I absolutely loved. I love the way that was done. I love how close and mature these 2 are getting. Even though they're only, I think 9 years old, they're still getting very close. They're still going through a similar situation, and I really did love that. So Riley and Maya then bring everyone back to Topanga's, realizing that they can in fact get that friendship back and they can get that bond back. And what I love about this scene is that everyone really gets to state their point. Everyone gets to state how they feel, why they did what they did, and I really did love that. They tell them that they're sorry. Zay says that they're the ones that left. Maya says they should have realized something happened to them, and Zay says that nothing happened to them. And Farkle asks why they think that, and Smackle explains what happened to them, and Lucas says to not look at them, and Maya says that she will. And I love the way that Smackle explained it, where she's like, "Oh, we realized that we were stupid, and Zay and Lucas got tackled like pipsqueaks." I thought that was very funny. Again, Smackle, like I said, just adds so much to the show, and I love how she doesn't hold back. Like, she tries to say things as intelligently as possible, but it only makes them feel dumber. And I think Lucas also said that because he could never have said it better as well. So he says not to look at them. Maya says that she will when she wants to, and Lucas says that everyone is stronger than him. Riley says that none of this matters because really it doesn't. And that's another thing I want to point out. A lot of people said this fight was pointless, and I feel like that was the point. They realized that they were fighting over nothing, and that's something that people do all the time. I mean, when you're younger, you fight over literally everything, but as you grow older, you realize that there's no reason to fight over things. I mean, when I was a freshman, I got upset at every little thing under the sun, but now I really don't. I realize that there are only certain things to get upset at, and there are better things, there are better ways to deal with something than to get angry. A better way to do is, take some time, really think about it, and I think that's something that Riley's really realizing. And Maya says that the only way they're going to get through high school is if they stay together like they always have, and Riley says that there's 4 years of high school left, and Maya says that she's out, because she can't even deal with it. And Farkle asks for someone to explain to him what's going on because he doesn't feel he knows himself anymore. And that's something else you deal with in high school. You start to feel not like yourself. You start to feel like you're someone else. And Smackle says that they're forgiving them for behaving badly. Riley says they're not. When they left, the two of them should have gone with them. And Riley and Lucas thinks that it's the other way around, which again I think is very interesting. The fact that they think that they should have stayed with them, and Riley thinks they should have gone with them. I think that's very interesting the way that was done. He says he doesn't know what's wrong with him. Riley says he left because he didn't feel he could protect them. They all need to protect each other no matter what happens in high school. They're the cause worth fighting for, and no one can leave. And Lucas asks if they are massacred, and Maya says that they will be together, and Lucas says that they've never gotten her when they were together. It was his fault that they weren't, and he's sorry for it. He hopes it never happens again. He says they reminded them what it means to be strong and smart, and Maya asks Riley if she still likes him, and Riley admits she does, as well as all of them. She loves their bond, not just the three of them, but she wants all 6 of them to be together. She wants all of them to go through something. That's something I really did love. I love the way that was done. Zay and Smackle haven't always been part of the group, but they feel as close to them now as they ever have been because they're going through a very similar situation, and they're gonna stick together. I really did love seeing that. Really great stuff there, and I think really showed why this bond is so strong, that not every bond gets broken in high school, and maybe at some point this bond will get broken. Honestly, I think it probably is gonna happen. I mean, look at Boy Meets World. Look what happened there. Corey and Sean, they went through a time where they weren't as close anymore, but they always remain friends. They're still friends. Corey and Topanga got together. I mean, yeah, that doesn't always happen, but what this is trying to show is that these 6 are going to stay together. They're going to try to make it work as best as possible. Even if it doesn't work, they're going to try to stick together. I really did love that, and especially in this next scene, which I thought was probably maybe the best classroom scene we've had so far. I love the way this was done, and really just very, very well handled, and also a really good tribute to Boy Meets World as well, as shown in this next scene. So the next day, they all walk into an empty classroom, which obviously Marley's immediately questioning because, again, that's not normal. And Corey tells them to take a seat and asks what they've learned in high school so far. And we finally understand what he's really trying to get across. And I really didn't see this as him just trying to appeal to Riley. I saw this as him trying to appeal to the entire classroom, which is something that a lot of teachers do. I mean, to compare a history situation to what you're going through, they do try to compare it to something that we'd understand. And Lucas says that they're not kings anymore, they're Abigail Adams patriots. And Corey says that basically Abigail Adams once said to be good and to do good is the whole duty of men. And Marley asks if he means do well, and I freaked out when she said that because, of course, Corey says the funny thing in history is that repeats, and it means do good. And of course, that is the lesson from the series finale of Boy Meets World when Feeney said, you know, believe in yourselves, dream, try, do good. That's something he said to them, and we realized that he has a lesson plan that says dream, try, do good. It's something that's resonated with him, and that's the thing that's the reason Feeney said to them, because he wanted them to remember that. You have to dream, you have to try, and do good. Not do well, do good. Do good for other people, do good for, not just do well, do good as in do good for other people, do good for yourself, and just do good things in general. And it's a reference to basically the series finale. I love the way that scene was done, but it didn't feel just random. It didn't feel like, oh, we're just paying tribute to Boy Meets World. It just felt natural, like it always has, and I really did love that. Corey talks about the Patriots land being rough and undeveloped like them, but they stuck together and make it their new room, just like they will. He says they need to fill the room with knowledge and ask them what they know, and Riley says that she has faith in a new place who have already been there, and Corey tells her to get her desk. Maya gets up, says in any new place, old or new, she sticks with Riley. She's always with her, but she knew that a long time ago. And Lucas says that there are stronger people there than them there, and that they're going to stick together and that they're going to get stronger. Farkle says that there are smarter people than them there, and Corey asks what they're going to do about it, and he says that he thinks he knows. He tells them all to get their desk, and everyone goes except for Marley, and this is finally his chance to prove to Marley and tell her basically what he's trying to do. He tells her that in this room, they find how history relates to their present, and they can't get by from the success of their past. This is their new school. They need to stick together, do good, which is, you know, it's been proven for many times. For Farkle, for example, you know, he's not as smart as he once was, as we see. Lucas isn't as strong as he once was, but they are, and basically they're going to discover the new land together, even though he's just their teacher. Marley asks if this is how he teaches. Riley says every day. Corey asks if she's going to get her desk. She says no, she's going to get his, and I think she's really realizing that Corey is just learning as much as them, and I think that's one of the reasons why Corey became a teacher, because he has learned about the world, and he wants them to get the same impact that he did, and I think we really do see that here, and that's something I really did love. I mean, Corey's a character that I think we do get characterized a lot, but a lot of times he does become more of just the teacher in Riley's life. But we have to remember that Corey was the central character of Boy Meets World, and he's kind of going through now sharing his knowledge and his experience with Riley in the class, and it makes perfect sense why he's doing that. And now Marley totally understands why he's doing this as well, and why he teaches the way he does, which is something that I absolutely loved. So everyone's now back in the hole, because I think they're all realizing that they need to stick together, which they all finally feel, though, that they can come out of, because they have learned something by going out of it. And they go up to the seniors. Riley says she's glad they picked the 6 of them. Nikki says she wishes someone would have done it for them, and Lucas says they really put them through it and mess with their heads, but they'll be better friends because of it, and thanks them. Thor says that they'll be there for them anytime. Asks Lucas and Zay if they were trying for the football team. They agree that they won't, and he asks them again. They both enthusiastically say yes, which I thought was very well done, the way he's kind of motivating them. Nikki says now they're seniors and have learned so much there, they want to leave someone a legacy. Thor says to pass it on someday, and Riley says that they will when they're kings. And I think this might be the last time we honestly see Thor, Francesca, and Nikki. Now, we might see them again a little bit, but I feel like it's going to be the last time they play a major role, because the whole point of them was to pass on their legacy and basically right the wrongs of what they didn't do. They should have stayed together, and they're telling them that they should have stayed together. They shouldn't have separated. They want them to stay together. They want them to figure out the love triangle. They just want to pass on their legacy to them. I love the way that was done, and I love that Riley understands the situation, because they just did the same thing for the newcomers. You remember at the end of season 2, they made that bench for 6th graders to sit on, and everything. So they kind of did the same thing, and Riley realizes the situation that they were in is the same situation that they used to face, and I love the way that was done. Really good of comparing those 3, but not making them exactly like Riley, Maya, and Lucas, because we know that their situation's going to get solved. Michael Jacobs already confirmed that very early this season they're going to figure out their situation. I think it's going to be Ski Lodge when they figure it out, which isn't, I think it's going to be like episode 10, so that's not too bad. But basically, they're going to fix their situation a lot earlier than Nikki, Francesca, and Thor ever did, and they're going to make sure they don't become like the 3 of them. So Riley says they will when they're kings. The bell then rings just like the first scene, tons of people passing them by, but this time they all stick together, hopeful for what high school will bring them, and that's how the episode ends. And overall, guys, amazing stuff. But let's just get into this episode, my predictions for the season overall, and what I love of this episode so much. So like I said, this was kind of similar to last week. The difference, like I said, is that there's a lot more hope here, but things do remain uncertain. Are they really going to stick together? I mean, they're going to try, definitely. We have hope that they're going to stick together, but is something bad going to happen? I mean, we know in Ski Lodge something big is going to happen. They already confirmed that something is going to happen there that's going to change the way Riley, Maya, and Lucas are. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a kiss in there for Maya and Lucas. I'm not really sure, but something is definitely going to irrevocably change that. There's going to be some damage to a friendship in some way, and I definitely think that's going to happen. But I do like that they're trying to stay hopeful. They're not just going to let one fight destroy their friendship, because no one should do that. That's stupid, and I like seeing that. I definitely thought that was very well done. I hope we see more of Marley, because I like what's going on with her, and I hope we get more into her personal life as well. Why does she feel this way? Why does she feel this isn't a way to teach the class? Things like that. I want to find out more about her character. I'm hoping that we do. I don't want her to become a part of the group, because I think that'd just be kind of stretching. It seems like every person that they meet, you know, I don't want them to become part of the group, which I'm glad they haven't done. They've only done with people that, you know, they have true connections with. You know, like Smackle's with the group because she's Farkle's girlfriend, but also because of the closeness she has with Riley and Maya. Zay is part of the group because he's best friends with Lucas, but also because he's pretty close with Riley and Maya and Farkle. We know that as well. We know Lucas, Farkle, and Zay, those three are really best friends, and they'll always stick together. We know that definitely. We saw that in season 2. That's still going on here, which is something I think they did really well. Marley, though, none of them are close with. She's just a class, you know, she's just a friend of the class, but I do hope that we find out a bit more about her, because I think that'd be a bit more interesting what's going on there. Are we going to see Nikki Francesca and Thor again? I don't really know. I feel like this might be the last time we see him. I think it might be best if they did that. But honestly, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. And as far as Augie and Ava are going, I love how close these two are becoming. I love they have a genuine friendship. It's no longer just her controlling him. I love the way that was done. Really good stuff there. Overall, guys, I can't wait for the rest of the season. Of course, this episode does premiere tomorrow. I forgot to say that, but of course, I watched it early. I can't wait for Friday, though, because, again, we have episode 3, and I can't wait for that. So let me know what you guys thought of both of these episodes. I do think part 1 was the better episode, but I thought this episode was just as strong. I still would give it an A+ if I had to grade it, because I still think it was amazing stuff. You know, it was a bit more lighthearted, but I do think part 1 was the stronger one. But as a whole, I think these both were great episodes, and they really showed the transition that Girl Meets World is going through. Like I said, things feel a bit unfamiliar, but that's because things are supposed to. And this episode, I think, felt familiar because they're realizing that while things are different, things haven't changed completely. They're still 6 friends. They still are going to be together through thick and thin, and this is still Girl Meets World. You know, it's not a completely different show, and that's something I really did enjoy. But overall, guys, when you guys saw this episode, really loved it overall. Are you looking forward to the season? I can't wait for us this season, and we'll see you guys next week, which will be for tonight's episode of Outlander, which I cannot wait for, and which hopefully will be better than last week's. Last week was just kind of slow, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.